What's up? What's up, my friends? How are you doing? Welcome to Positive TV. That's what I call it. Today we're going to be talking to Jan Green. Jan is an inspirational figure and author, and we're going to talk about everything that she has going on in her life. I'd like to get people on here that I believe that will be inspiring, motivational, people who can add value to your life. Hi, MTR. How are you doing? Thank you for joining. Jan Green, is going to really pour into you today and bless you. I really believe that. How have things been going in everybody's life? Today, we're going to be discussing her book and amongst other things as well. So I want you to stick around, stay tuned, because this is going to inspire you. Just a couple of things to set up before she comes. We have been doing live videos on other platforms and then replaying those videos on YouTube, Instagram, and the whole nine yards. How you doing, Jan? Go ahead and request to join so that we can get going. Okay, good. We've been doing some lives a bunch of different places. And replaying those on all of the social media platforms. So I hope that you guys are getting those and enjoying those. How you doing, Jan?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining everybody today. I was just letting everybody know a little bit about you. I'm going to give you the opportunity to just share who you are and what you have going on. Today is about you. It's about everything that you have going on in your life, your book, all of those things. I want you to, just be open and share. This is what we use this platform for, to share with as many people as we can everything that's going on. So I really appreciate you being here. And for everybody who knows, I think about who doesn't know, I'm sorry. I think about 2 years ago is when I met Jan. We were both doing a co-keynote at an event, at a woman's event. And I was inspired by her story and by what she has going on in her life. We remain connected. So I knew that as I started to do these weekly interviews with some great people to spread positivity throughout the world, she was one of the people that I wanted to interview and talk to her about what's going on. So it'll be not just today, but it'll be many times in the future. So without further ado, Jan, this 45 minutes is about you. It's not about anything but you, right? So I want you to introduce yourself to everyone. Tell us about you, any and everything about you, what's going on. I know that you have a book. We're going to talk about that, and then I'll dive in and ask you some pertinent questions. All right? So let everybody know who you are, sis.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel, for the opportunity. I definitely appreciate it. And like you said, we did meet about 2 years ago at a speaking event. So first of all, I am an inspirational speaker. I have been in ministry probably for the past 22 years. My passion pretty much is raising servant leaders for Christ. So I like equipping and enhancing people, mainly to help them to understand, number one, what their God-given vision is. And secondly, equipping them to be able to fulfill and walk out that vision. That's my passion. So within the last few years of ministry, mainly what I have done at my own church, I have assisted with overseeing our school of ministry and raising and training leaders. So I train probably about a good 400 to 500 leaders every semester as they embrace the call of God in their life. Secondly, I also work with pastors within the community coming in and ministering, as well as teaching servant leadership skills. So that's my passion. When you look at me, I'm all about raising servant leaders. On a personal note, I'm a single mom of two, so I have two beautiful daughters. They're both unfortunately now grown up. So my youngest is 18 now. She just graduated from high school, and then my oldest she's moved away. She's married, and I have my first grandchild. So that's on a personal note. Things that I just like to do is mainly just connecting with people and just helping people to be their best.
I love that. Okay, so a couple of things, and I know where you go to church at, but where do you go to church?
Okay, well, I go to the Potter's House of Dallas, Texas. My pastor is Bishop T.D. Jakes. I wouldn't have it any other way right now.
Yeah, he's my pastor too, or the pastor of my family as well. So we go to that same church. Ironically, we didn't meet at the Potter's House. Again, we met 2 years ago. We have a big church community anyway, but when we went to that speaking engagement a couple of years ago, that's when we realized, wait a minute, we attend the exact same church and congregation. So let's
Yes.
talk about servant leadership and your passion to raise servant leaders. Kind of give me an idea or an explanation of what that means. And from your perspective, what is a servant leader? What do servant leaders do? And how do you help support and help them to become all that they can be?
Okay, that's great. First of all, a servant leader is a leader that has been called in position to lead a group of people, but they understand the difference between a leader and a servant leader is they understand that they're not the one that's the boss, that's pushing everybody around, that's giving orders, but they are the ones that are servant first. They have a service heart. They're willing to get their hands dirty, put their hands on the plow, and get there out there on the front line, which means that they're willing to be hit first. And I think where my passion has been drawn is that many times operating in the church community, I mean, I've been in apostolic, I've been in Church of God in Christ, I've been in Baptist, and now Pentecostal. But working with leaders, I have come to realize that a lot of people want you to bow down to them. They want you to put the crown on their head and to serve them. But that's not what Jesus did. Jesus took the towel and he washed the feet. He went to the streets and he ministered and he opened up blind eyes and caused the deaf to hear and the mute to speak. He was in action. And a servant leader is one who is willing to get out there in the middle of the fight and show the people that they are leading what to do and how to do it best. So my passion is to help people understand that when you are called to operate in the kingdom of God and you're called to lead people, you're not called for them to bow down to you, to serve, to worship you, but you're called to lead them and to do great and mighty exploits in the earth realm, meaning they watch you. You are the prime example. They watch you get hit. They watch you get dirty. They watch you cry. They watch you bleed. That's all what servant leadership is all about.
When did you discover that this was a call on your life? Being a servant leader, obviously, we become it first. And then we can raise others to become the exact same thing. But when did you discover that you wanted or were called in that vein, right? To be and I know that we're all called to be a servant leader and we can call it in whatever we want, but how did you realize, wait a minute, this is what leadership should look like, feel like, should be like, and I'm passionate about this particular thing. When did you realize that?
I tell you, I realized it at the most difficult seasons of my life, and that was a season of divorce. I had been married for about 18 years. We were both in ministry. Unbeknownst to me, there was some other things going on, and I found myself in the midst of divorce. But it was the way that I felt God did it. He didn't do it in a matter of privacy. He did it in a matter of me being on a public platform. So at this time, this happened about 9 years ago, God had already ushered me on the front line at the Potter's House to begin to oversee our school of ministry, to begin to minister to the people, and to begin to teach those who are called to ministry. And the moment I stepped on that platform and began to operate was the moment my life began to fall apart. My marriage began to fall apart. I had young children at the time, I believe 9 and 13. So the first thing that came to my mind was, ooh, wait a minute. I can't be in the spotlight right now. I'm too tore up inside. I can't even go. I can't even go outside without crying because of the pain that I'm feeling right now. And I remember one of my pastors came to me and she said to me, she said, look, I know what you're going through, and if you need to sit out this season, you can, because you're going through a lot of stuff. And something inside of me, before I could even think about it, it came out my mouth, and it says, if I sit down now, I'm going to spiritually commit suicide. And
Wow.
what God was sharing with me is that, no, if you're going to be a leader called, you got to lead even in the midst of pain. You got to lead even when you're bleeding. And so through that semester, that whole semester, although people knew what I was going through, though people wanted to feel sorry for me, although people were talking about me behind my back, I decided I'm going to get on the front line and I'm going to do what God called me to do. I can cry all the way there, but when I get there, I'm going to wipe every tear, and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to teach, I'm going to lead, I'm going to minister. I'm going to live an example before the people. And when I did that, God blessed me. And it was like a catalyst that propelled me into my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And with that situation, it helped me understand what Jesus went through when he said, God, not my will, but thine will be done. God, take this cup from me, but not my will, thy will be done. And he kept moving. Why? Because of me and because of you. And I realize now that a lot of times, most of the times that things that we as children of God go through, it's not about us, but it's about the people we're called to. It's about the people that we need to minister and reach. And sometimes you cannot reach people unless you have felt the pain ahead of time.
So one of the things I often say is our pain is an indication to the purpose for which we were called in the earth, right? That's what I say. So our pain is an indication, and typically that pain that we have when someone else hurts, but there's also a pain that we have. Donnie McClurkin said something many, many years ago that I've kept with me. It's probably been 15 years. He said, in order for someone to live, someone must first die. So our sacrifice, our pain, our hurts can be used as tools to help someone else to not go through the same thing or recover. So I want to ask you a pretty straightforward and intimate question, and you can share as much or as little as you want. So here you are, you're going through a challenging time in your life. In this case, it's divorce. And I am sure that there are many people who are watching this now or watching on the re-air on other platforms that are going through breakups, challenging times, tough relationships, abuse in their relationships, and not just close personal relationships like marriages or, you know, those kinds of things, but it could be with parents. It could be a breakup from a job. It could be it's very, very difficult time in their life where they're being ripped away from, separated from something they love, maybe they enjoy. How did you navigate that difficult time? And obviously you were in the public eye, and these people who are watching may not. But how did you navigate that, going through that tough time and keeping it all together or not? Share how you navigated through those times for yourself.
Whew, I tell you, it wasn't easy. I had to really reach out and pray and cry. And sometimes my prayers was, God, I don't understand. God, I'm mad. God, I'm upset. And sometimes it was in the midst of prayer, throwing things and tearing up stuff because I had to get that rage out of me. But I did it behind closed doors. I did it in the midst of being in the presence of God. Because once I threw my little tantrum or my fit because of the things that I was going through and the hurt I was feeling, then I felt the presence of God coming in to console me. Counseling. Me and my girls at the time, we went through counseling. And a lot of times people shun counseling. They feel if they're saved and they got God, they don't need counseling. But I'm here to tell you that counseling is a plus. Counseling can help you get through things faster than you would go through it yourself. So I spent a lot of time in counseling with just me and the counselor, and then counseling with me and the girls. That helped a lot, being able to just talk to someone and not so much asking them to give me a solution, but the simple fact of being able to get it off of me and out and sharing with someone else who just sat there and listened, you know, and then probably gave some direction. So that was one. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there were times when I didn't want to walk up in the Potter's house. You know, it's too many people there, too many people in your face. And if I was going to be in the Potter's house, I would rather at that time been a fly on the wall than to be present and let people know that, oh, she went through this and she went through that. But I had to face it. And when I went, I mean, if you ever been to the Potter's house on the Bishop T.D. Jakes, it's like every time I went, the message was like, God, you talking to me. And it gave me strength. So every time I stepped foot in a place, I left with strength, stronger and stronger. And then when it comes to the purpose of what I do, as far as teaching and ministering and raising other leaders, there were times when I got in my car and I cried all the way there. And I wiped my tears, got out, put my Superwoman cape on, did what I had to do. Even at work, on my job, I did the same thing. And as soon as I left and finished my task, got back in my car, cried myself all the way home. But that was healing for me. And that was how I came.
So I'm glad you mentioned that that was healing to you. So I want to talk about that. I want to explore that just a little bit more from your perspective. There are a lot of people, some who don't have a public life. They don't have a lot of people that are around them. And they're going through what you just went through or what you went through. They're going through it literally right now. And they don't have someone to talk to. They don't have someone to connect with. They may not have the means to go to counseling. They may not have those things. But again, they're going through it right now. And they're trying to figure out how to get through this. What would you say to someone who is going through a very challenging time in their life right now, whether it's divorce, again, or a breakup or some other difficulty where they feel like their lives is being ripped away from normalcy? What would you say to them right now in the midst of this moment in their life?
I would say don't die, because this situation is temporary. And you have to begin to look past this and see a glimpse of hope in the future, knowing that there's something on the other side of this, and knowing that sometimes God allows us to be broken so that we can become whole. And although there's no one around you right now, know that God is everywhere. One of the scriptures that I had to hold on to was God, the promise of God, when he says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. See, my husband, he left me, he forsook me, but there was someone there that never left me. Everywhere I went, whether it was in my living room, my bedroom, on a job, to the grocery store, in my front yard, God was there. And if you just take a moment to take a deep breath, you will feel his presence, and you will know that he is there. And he wants to console you. He wants you to cry out to him. He wants you to tell him how you feel. Sometimes people say, well, there's a certain way you should go to God. Well, no, I'm going to go to God transparent. God, I'm angry. God, I'm mad. God, I'm upset. God, I don't understand. God, why would you allow this to happen? When we go to God like that, God allows us to feel him in ways that we've never felt him before. And so I just challenge you to just try him during this time. And if you don't have anybody around you, even pray and ask God, God, send with me someone that I can trust, that will take time to listen, to hear, and understand me. And even if it's a stranger on the street, God will answer that prayer for you.
Yeah, and I often tell people they can, see content like this. They can go to your page, and we'll talk about what that is here in just a moment. But I want to challenge you in another way with another question. So one of the ways that one of the things you mentioned just now is people have to essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, hang on to hope, right? See a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And when you're in the middle of, well, let's just use this analogy. When you are in the middle of the ocean, 100 feet below, it's hard to see your way to the top where areas where you can breathe. It's very, very challenging.
Yes.
What would you say to a person who feels like they are literally drowning? They are in the middle of this ocean. They're surrounded by nothing but water that they cannot breathe. It feels like that in many cases to a ton of people. They just don't know what to do at this particular time in their lives. What would you say to them right now? They are hopeless. How can you help them to see the light at the end of the tunnel? What would you say to them?
I would say to them that although you can't see that there's hope, or you can't see the light at the tunnel, you have to at this point use your imagination, even if it means going back in your thought process of thinking about happier times and thinking about how you can make those happier times become a reality for you now. Although things can seem as though they are real, and sometimes things seem to be something that they're actually not. The enemy wants us to think that there is no hope, that there is no light at the end of this tunnel. But you're going to have to begin to minister to yourself. Sometimes you have to find something within yourself that will encourage you to keep moving forward, knowing that if I can just take one more breath, one more step, I will be out of this. And again, utilizing the tools that is in your reach, whether it's picking up that phone and making a call to someone, even if you have to call a stranger, picking up that phone and calling someone and letting them know, I'm in danger, I need help, I need you to pull and walk me through this. That is what I would say to that person.
Now, I know about you. You're a little bit about you from a distance, tiny bit close up. You seem like you're a very traditional type woman, meaning you believe in the institution of family and all of that good stuff. I know that about you.
Uh-huh.
But here you are, you're going through this very difficult time, a divorce. Now you find yourself in a situation on the other side of that, being a single mom, having to raise kids. I want you to, again, talk about that time in your life. How did you navigate, now you're not with your ex-husband, but you have these kids, they're leaning on you. You're going through all of these challenging times in your own life. Yes. Your kids may be feeling some kind of way or going through something in their own lives. Mm-hmm. How, as a single mom, as their counselor, as their comfort, how did you navigate that time in your life as well?
Now, that's a good question. At that time, again, my kids was 9 and 13. And so they really didn't understand what was going on. They just understood that, oh, my family, as I know it, has been torn apart. My world is upside down. And there was a lot of tears and a lot of crying, a lot of getting up late at night with someone tapping you on your shoulder saying, Mommy, I still don't understand. Those were the times I had to just embrace my girls. There were times I didn't even know what to say to them. And we just cried. We just shared our tears. We just shared our screams together. But when we wiped our tears and stopped screaming, that's when I said, okay, I think I need counseling and my girls need counseling. And that was the thing. We made counseling a routine. So on a weekly basis, we were in counseling. Anytime something came up that my girls brought to me that I was like, this is too much. I can't do this right now. I would pick up the phone and call the counselor. And then I had a support group. I had my parents, I had my siblings, I had my church who was there. And so when I couldn't, they stepped in. God just blessed me where there was someone that would step in when I just felt I couldn't go any further. That was a blessing for me. And then the next thing that we did was we shared stories. So I made sure that we had intimate family time every night where we came together and we just talked. I said, okay, it's story time, whatever you want to talk about. And sometimes it was talking about dad. It was sometimes talking about the divorce. It was sometimes talking about the three pigs and the wolf, or the, you know. And so the family time is what allowed me and my to create a stronger bond. And eventually it brought the healing that we needed to move forward. Eventually we could say goodbye to the counselor. Eventually we could tell my parents, it's okay, I think we can stand on our own now. And eventually we became that unit where we were good. And then the latter part, one thing that I know, I remember God telling me one day on my way to church to teach a class, I heard God, the Holy Spirit say, take your girls with you. They need to see what you're doing. They need to be a part. So here they come. I started bringing them every week to the classes and putting them to work and letting them do different things. And that just created a stronger bond for us. And before you know it, we look up and they're graduating and they're going off and they're starting their own lives.
Very good. So someone may be listening right now and they're saying to themselves, how, as a single mom, I know you had to be strong for them, but you also had to be strong for yourself, right? It's very, very difficult to be strong for others. And I know that we're talking about your kids, but find that strength in self. What would you say to a person who says right now, how can I be strong for someone else when I'm finding difficulty being strong for myself? This whole situation has turned my life upside down. Whatever that situation is, it is literally flipped my life upside down. They may have lost someone they loved. They may be experiencing COVID themselves. They may have gone through a divorce. There may have been something else tragic that happened in their lives. And you're saying, how be strong? How can I be strong for someone else that needs me while I'm weak myself? Where do I find that strength?
Mm-hmm. Again, there were times that I felt like dying myself. I remember getting behind the car and driving on 360, and I said to myself, I'm gonna put my foot on this gas pedal and put it all the way down. Before I knew it, I was going over 100 miles per hour. And literally in that moment, I had suicidal thoughts. I wanted to take my life. And as I was in the midst of that, tears began to roll down my eyes, and all I could think of was my girls. And so I want to say to that person that you may be at that point where you say there's nothing else to live for. But I need to tell you that again, you got to begin to think thoughts of what is on the other side of this and who needs you, who's rooting for you, who wants to see you make it through this. And in the midst of it all, when it seems to be so dark and so dim and dreary, you've got to begin to embrace that there is something that's going to come out of this. Because for me, it was a better me. When I began to release and just accept the fact that, okay, I'm no longer married. Okay, this has happened to me. I had to begin to embrace me. And I had to begin to think, how can I make me a better me? So as a result, I pushed myself. I went back to school. I went and got another two master's degrees. I pushed myself and I was able to raise my credit. I pushed myself and I was able to get a promotion on my job. I pushed myself. So in other words, what I'm saying is that in the midst of pain, could it be that you're impregnated? You're impregnated with purpose. In the midst of pain, could it be that God has allowed something to be growing deep down inside of you, that the pain is just birth pains? that you really need to get into a birthing position. And for me, that birthing position was to educate myself. For me, that birthing position was to move outside my norm and to gain other friendships. For me, the birthing position was to determine how can I be a better mom to these kids right now. That was the birthing position. And although they say that when a woman is giving birth, she is closer to death than she's ever been. Could it be that, yes, you are close to death because something has died in your life, but it's only for you to give birth to something greater? And so I would say, grab hold to the hope that is inside that's yet to be birthed. And take another breath to see what's on the other side of this pain.
Wow, that's powerful. I appreciate you sharing that. I do. Oftentimes people don't get an opportunity to listen to someone up close who's gone through exactly what they've gone through. And it sounds like everything that you've gone through has inspired you to write this book called Breaking, right? So let's talk about that. Talk about the book, talk about the journey to creating the book, because there may be some people here who are inspiring authors. Talk about what the content of the book has, and what people can get from it if they get it and they read it and they embrace it and they follow you on social media. What kinds of things? So let's talk about that. What birthed the book. Let's talk about the purpose of the book, and let's talk about how people can benefit from it.
Okay. So the name of the book, which I have here, is called Breaking the Curse of Death Sentence. Again, it's Breaking the Curse of a Death Sentence. And what truly inspired me to write the book was my life story of battling sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is a predominant disease in the Black community, although it does affect other races. But for me, it was something I grew up with. I grew up in and out the hospital, having to give blood transfusions and literally fighting for my life. My younger sister, we were 2 years apart, and at the age of 15, I was 17 at the time, but at the age of 15, she passed away of sickle cell anemia, having a major crisis. And at her funeral, I just remember saying, oh my God, the doctors are right, because all of my life, all I heard the doctors say was, you're not going to see your adult years. And so when my sister passed away at 15, I was like, oh my God, the doctors are right. I'm not going to see my adult years. Here I'm sitting here horrified at my sister's funeral, and that's all I could think of was a death sentence that they put on her life that has come to pass, and I'm next. And a few years passed by, and I'm now 22. I'm married. I have just had my third miscarriage because doctors said I could never have children. They said you don't have enough blood in your body to even survive. So you definitely don't have enough blood in your body to support a growing baby in your womb. And so despite of my faith, believing that God could do anything, I still yet had another miscarriage, which was twins. And that hurt me. I was a twin, and I lost my twin at birth due to sickle cell. So when I found out I was pregnant with twins, I was excited because I was like, Mom and Dad now get to experience the joy of twins. But yet I lost them. And I said that I was going to try to do everything I could to live the life that my sister never lived. But by lying in the hospital after having that miscarriage, I had one of the worst crises in my life. And I was in Kansas at the time. And I remember a Black doctor walked in the room. Now, I never had a Black doctor before. He walked in the room and he said, if you're going to live, you're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to look at this in a different way, even if it means looking at it from a spiritual perspective. And when he left the room, I really didn't know what he was talking about. But over time, God began to speak to me, and He told me, and this was after I came to the Potter's house. So at the Potter's house, I'm listening to Bishop. I'm taking what he's saying. I'm going into my prayer closet and I'm praying about it. And as I'm praying about, God, please heal me. Why haven't you healed me? God, I want a baby. God, this and God, that. God began to challenge me. Where is your works behind your faith? You need to change what you're eating. Your food needs to become your medicine. Well, how do I do that, God? Look up sickle cell. Determine what the disease is and what is it doing to your body. Look up the medications that the doctor's putting you on and find my medication. So
Wow.
make a story short, I started looking up the medication. I started writing, taking a journal with me to the doctor's visits and asking them, explain what you just told me. Can you spell that medical term for me? And the doctors didn't want to do it, but I challenged them. And the reason why, the information I obtained from them, I came back, got in my prayer closet, started looking up the medical terms, looking up the medications, and God showed me how to substitute the medicines for fruits and vegetables. And as I began to do that, I took myself off all the medications that they put me on. I began to utilize the fruits and vegetables, and I began to speak life. I pulled out every scripture out of the Bible that had to do with life, and I spoke it over myself. When the doctor said, you're going to die, I said, I should not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. And I began to speak life to myself. Then I got pregnant with my first daughter, and the doctors was setting me up to say, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But I began to speak life to my daughter in the womb. And I had a successful birth with no problems. And as a result, I said the things that I'm going through, because I started a sickle cell support group in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where I minister to those with sickle cell. So I bring them in my home. Every 3 months, we have dinner, fellowship, Bible study, and prayer. And I just let them talk to me about what's happening to them. And as a result, that is what they told me. They said, you need to write a book. You need to put this stuff in the book. And so as a result, that is what has inspired me to write the book. It's called Breaking the Curse of a Death Sentence, because that is what I did. I broke the curse of the death sentence off of my life by using the word of God, by changing my eating habits, by speaking the word of God into my life. If you was to get this book, if you're dealing with any type of disease, it's not just sickle cell, but in this book, I share my testimony. I share my pain of the things that I went through as a little girl. I talk about my sister and how she passed away, but yet I also talk about, I educate people about what the disease is. I educate them about the blood levels and things of that nature. So the book is packed with education. I encourage people that whatever disease they have, I teach them in this book how the importance of studying it and being your own doctor, and not just relying on what another man or woman tells you, but educating yourself about the disease that they say that you have. And then I educate them on how to use a natural remedy that God has given to us to bring healing to our own bodies. That is what people will get in this book, along with inspiration to overcome any death sentence that anybody puts on your life. Reading this book will help you to break the curse of the death sentence off of your life.
Wow. So this will be re-aired again on not just on IGTV, but a lot of different platforms. Tell people, where can they get the book from so that they can begin to embrace and have this hope in their life? Where can they get it from?
Okay, they can go to www.jchristyglobal.com. Again, that's www.jchristyglobal.com.
Okay.
That's
And
my
where,
personal website.
okay, and where can they start following you to get more inspiration and understanding, even message you with some questions that they might have and want to connect? Where can they follow you on social sites? Instagram, Facebook, any other
Yes.
place? Where can they find you?
My Facebook is J Christy Green. So they can go there to follow me on Facebook. On Instagram is J Christy Global on Instagram, as well as Twitter, J Christy Global. And you can also go to my website at www.jchristyglobal.com. And there are all kind of information on that website, as well as a form that you can fill out that will be sent to me to contact you.
Okay, very good. All right. In the next few moments of this interview, I want you to look right into the camera, and I really want you to share just from your heart, you know, to people who are watching that may feel like, okay, wait a minute, I'm connecting to this message. I still need some hope, some direction, some understanding. So just take a few moments and speak right into the camera, right from your heart, about what you really would like to have people know, understand, and be inspired by.
Amen. Well, on today, you've heard a lot of things concerning me. You heard about my divorce. You heard about the struggle I had with sickle cell anemia. Ultimately, I want you to know that each and every one of you have been birthed into this earth realm with a specific purpose that you are to do for the kingdom of God. Each and every one of you are servant leaders called to do great exploits for God. And in the midst of your pain, I just want to challenge you today. In the midst of the things that you have went through, that God has allowed you to come out of, even in the midst of things that you are facing now, I want to challenge you to begin to ask God, who is this pain for? Because a lot of times, in order to mature to the next level in what God has for you, you have to grasp the fact that everything is not about you. And a lot of times when you go through things, in order to get to that next level, you have to begin to pray and say, God, if you are allowing me to be in this hospital bed, if you are allowing me to be touched by COVID-19, if you are allowing me to be touched by things such as divorce and separation and loneliness, then God, you have seen fit to allow me to go through these things, because you have a purpose for me that is greater than the things that I could even imagine. And because of this, God, I'm asking you to show me the reason behind why you allow me to face these things, and who is it for? In the midst of your pain, begin to cry out to God and begin to pray for others. Because the moment that you begin to pray for others, it's the moment Satan is going to release you out of that attack, because he realized that the more he attacks you, the more you're going to lift others up. And the more you lift others up, God is saying, my child has matured enough where I can take her on the other side of this, because now she can be used for me. She is now an honorable vessel that I can go and minister and lift my people up.
Wow.
And the more you do that, the more you shorten your pain, and the more you will break through to the other side. And the moment you will break the curse of death off of your life and everybody attached to you. And so I just want to encourage you today to go to the next level. The next level is maturity. The next level is becoming a servant leader that says, if I have to drink of this cup, not my will, but thy will be done, Father. Because when I look in this cup, I don't just see my pain, but I see the pain of the people that I have to make the sacrifice for. And when I get to the other side, not only am I going into victory, but I'm bringing a group of people with me. Amen.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate that. One more time, I want you to tell people in just a moment where they can find you, because I want people to connect with you. And it's okay for them to DM you, to message you, to call, all that good stuff. So yes. So the pain in our lives creates or identifies a purpose that gives us the opportunity to be promoted to help somebody else. That's kind of what I got from everything today. And helping people to, you know, navigate through challenging times that seem to be uncommon to them, but you made it very plain and simple. You've gone through divorce, you've had medical challenges, and you broke through to the other side. You were a single mom. You broke through to the other side to get where you are right now. A lot of people see you where you are right now and say, yeah, good for you. You're living a better life. But they don't know the pain that you had to go through, the process that you had to go through in order to get the promotion that you currently have in life, right? In life. And when I say promotion, I mean maturity. That's what I mean. Doesn't mean
Amen.
more money, doesn't mean a bigger job. That pain takes us through a process that creates promotion called maturity in our lives that gives us the opportunity to begin to help other people. So I appreciate that. Tell people once again who want to connect with you, who've been blessed by what you shared today, where they can find you. And then I definitely want to invite you to come back in the coming months so we can share more about your story and everything that's going on in your life. I really want to do that. So share with everybody where they can find you one more time.
You can find me at Facebook at J. Christy Green. You can find me on Instagram at jchristyglobal.connect. Again, that's jchristyglobal.connect. The same as Twitter, jchristyglobal.connect. And feel free to go to my website, www.jchristyglobal.com. On there, you'll see all the services that I can offer to you. You'll get information about my ministry, as well as have the opportunity to complete a form asking me to do a free consultation with you. And I'll be glad to sit down and talk with you.
Jan, thank you so much. Again, I am definitely going to have you back. So be looking out for an email or a message from me trying to lock down a date, because I believe that you have more that people can benefit from. I really thank God for you. I thank you for joining today and sharing your story. A lot of people need to hear it. And my prayer is that people were healed from it and touched by it. So please continue to do what you're doing. Let God continue to use you. I pray that that book becomes a bestseller, and that the people who are supposed to have it in their lives, that they have it in their lives so that they can begin the journey of healing and then begin to be promoted, mature, so they can begin to help someone else. Because if each one of us is reaching at least one person, then everybody can be helped up. Thank you so much. I'll give you the final word and then we'll cut it off.
Amen. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate this opportunity. It's good to see you again. I look forward to seeing you more. Again, I just want to thank everybody that has tuned in, and to just encourage you again, just to move forward in all that God has called you to do. Despite of the obstacles, find a way to overcome.
All right. God bless you, sis. I will be talking to you soon in the coming days. Please look for that email. Thank you, everybody who joined. Thank you, everybody who watched. You can continue to follow on this platform or connect with me in other places as well. You know how I do the whole social media thing. So YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, doesn't matter. Just join me, leave a DM, leave a message. And then if you need to be connected to Christy, you want to connect with me to connect with Christy, I'll give you her information with her permission as well, so you can connect with her. Because I don't want you to think that you're the only one that's going through what you're going through right now. I want you to know that there is help, somebody who can share with you how you can navigate through whatever pain and challenges you're going through, so that you can, again, find your purpose and then be matured as well. Thanks so much again. I will talk to you guys next Sunday, where we'll have another dynamic guest. Love you, sis. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Love you too.
All right. Bye, world. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.